there's obviously a difference in the quality of football, but absolutely outstanding value. We're now going to turn to an interview we've been very excited about with the Chester FC head scout, Ben Valentine. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, Michael. You okay?
I'm very good, thank you. Great to get you on. So, we were touching upon this earlier when we were discussing your interview for our viewers. Scouting at non-league level, very different to what people imagine in the Premier League. We're jetting off to Europe to check out a new guy who might be touted in the window. Just give us a bit of an insight.
I'll put it this way, certainly not like that. Basically, with what I'm doing, I have to fit it in and around my full-time job. So, I mean, I have some weeks where I'm able to get out to one game. Some days, some weeks I get 2 days. You know, depending on my working pattern, I can sometimes get out to about 4 or 5 games a week. So, on all different levels, whether that be development game fixtures, conference, or Evo Stick or County League below that as well.
And just how did you get into scouting? Because it doesn't just happen overnight. You don't just become Chester FC's head and only scout.
Well, one of my friends, he was scouting down at Cambridge, and he basically just got that through pretty much going and approaching the club and asking if they had any vacancies, and basically told me about it. And he said, well, for someone who's got your knowledge, go on and do the same, put yourself out there. And I went to their match against Halifax last year, which was a few days for my birthday, and just saw Steve Burr on the site, and managed to just catch him a few minutes. We had a little chat, and he asked me to send on my details to the club, and we went from there, really.
Hi, Ben, it's Will here.
Hi, Will, are you okay, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I was just wondering, are there any positions you particularly like scouting? I can imagine it's easier to scout a striker, say, than perhaps a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. If you got a striker and you can see he's banging them in the back of the net, that's something you can't coach. You have that instinct. You're either a predator in those situations or you're either a cart horse. So those kind of things, they're easier to scout for. But I think with a lot of games I go to, obviously you'll look at certain players and you'll say, oh, well, he's got a lot of goals, or he's got a lot of assists, or they've got a lot of clean sheets. But with a lot of games, you don't just go to and just shut off and just look at that one player. It's important to look at the whole perspective of what's around you, because you might all of a sudden say, well, hang about, I went there to watch the striker, but that centre half having a blinder, I better phone the gaffer and tell them about him. So it's all very open-minded.
And we couldn't help but notice that Chester have recently signed Konov Town striker Corey William. And of course, as the only scout, you must have been involved with that. What do you make of him, and what do you expect to see from him?
Well, Corey's a good lad. He's first and foremost, I'll say he's a really nice lad. And the first I actually saw of him, I watched him at a development game playing for Bristol City in October earlier in the season. And to be fair, he was outstanding that day. He scored, and he even really showed Emmanuel Thomas up. He was that good that day. And I genuinely thought Bristol City were going to take him on at that point. And obviously they didn't. He's gone on to Carnarvon, and he's kept playing well. And I've watched him since, and he's a good player. I mean, he's somebody who fits very much into the mould of what we're trying to do at the club. It's very much what Steve Burr likes to do. How many people would have heard of likes of Joe Lolly and Shea Dunkley before he signed them at Kidderminster? They're people that they're not going to cost the club a lot of money, but if they develop in the way that we want them to, they can progress on and do really well. And we believe that Corey can do that with Chester.
And that's part of the Steve Burr philosophy. What's he like to work under as a manager, and what is he looking for in players that he is trying to sign?
As a manager, as a person, he is absolutely fantastic. He really is tremendous to work for. And me and him have got a good relationship where we are pretty much as straight to the point with each other. There's no, well, it could be all right. It's straight up answers with each other. In terms of what he looks for, he's basically he just wants people who come in, work hard, show a good attitude, show a willingness to learn, show a willingness to want to play well, and really just play for the badge and the shirt. You know, he's a really, really, really decent bloke, and his assistant John McCarthy too is also an excellent coach as well.
How often do you actually meet with the management to discuss signing players? Is that a regular thing or a monthly thing? How does that work?
Well, I said it depends on my working patterns, but I mean we are very regularly in contact over the phone. You know, I'll try and get down to the training ground as often as I can, because I mean, all right, okay, I'm not very often getting to matches, but of course, in terms of that, if he says to me, go and have a look for a centre midfielder, you know, it's important for me to see, you know, what the centre midfielder is like at the club for what I'm comparing them to. So, I mean, a lot more of the contact of late has been via the phone because I've been very busy in my full-time job. But, you know, we are very, very regularly in contact.
That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for that insight, Ben. Really good to speak to you. And we're looking forward to having you on, I understand, as a panellist in the studio next week. Yeah, I'll be down next week, so it'll be great to be in the studio and good to speak to you both. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care. Bye, bye, bye.